YouTube, what's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and wow, do I have a match for you today. This match is going to have more grenades than a game of Halo multiplayer. It's going to have more grenades than the ending of a PUBG match, yeah, and so on. And you all help me think of other games that are absolutely filled with grenades, and I will promise you that this battle will have more than that. So apparently this was from a tournament on WARHAMMER's channel. If y'all haven't seen WARHAMMER's channel, go check it out. He's an awesome YouTuber. Does lots of sweet videos on Total War multiplayer. If you're here, I'm assuming you've heard of him, but if you haven't, get over there and check it out. In any case, yeah, this was from a King of the Hill, and this is Shetland Apache, and he is playing against Flying Taco. So I don't recall exactly which player's which. Because I haven't actually stopped to look at the end screen of the battle, but I have watched the battle. In any case, yeah, we've got these two players here. Both of them are great players, and we have some very interesting armies here. The Empire army is like an amazing, meme-tacular, but also quite deadly pick. It's got 4 Outriders with grenade launchers, and these units, for those of you not terribly familiar with them, are a short-range missile cavalry that just completely decimate infantry. Armored infantry, unarmored infantry, doesn't really matter. They decimate it if they get a chance to shoot at it. There's Flagellants and Sigmar's Son, just a bunch of units that are meant to basically hold the enemy for as long as possible. There's a Bright Wizard who is dropping Flamestorm. He's also got Fireball. There's a War Wagon with Mortar, some Empire Knights, the White Wolves, which is a special Huntsman unit, and a couple of Empire Knights supporting Boris Todbringer, and he is up on an Imperial Griffin. Now, the Skaven army is quite a few Clan Rats, Skaven Slaves. The meat of the army is a couple of Doom Flayers, some Rat Ogres, a Hell Pit Abomination, a Clandestine Sorcerer, Deathmaster Snitch, and an Assassin. And there is some Skaven Slave Slingers giving just a little bit of range to this army. It's a pretty rushy Skaven army that may have been meant to fool an opponent into thinking that they would do a more like long-range type Skaven army. And honestly, I'm kind of curious to see how this Empire army would pan out versus an army with quite a few Warplock Jezzails. I'd love to see how that works. Now, obviously, a mortar can fire at Warplock Jezzails from roughly the same range, I think. But just curious. Anyway, let's watch what happens here as the Outriders with grenade launchers get into this fight. They are going to be raining all kinds of death. And I've been using Outriders with grenade launchers just kind of in a fun Empire campaign of my own. And I can assure you these units are quite effective at destroying infantry. And you can see that the Skaven infantry of any sort, whether it's skirmisher or melee, is just being absolutely shredded. And you can see the Empire Knights looking to come in and pick off weak units where they have the chance. Even the Flagellants picking up 80 kills, not a big surprise. Sigmar's Sons did get run over by the Doom Flayers. They are pretty good against the Skaven infantry, but not a whole lot of units do like fighting Doom Flayers. So it's hard to begrudge them for that. But yeah, you can see the grenade launchers have effectively devastated all of the Skaven infantry. And someone might think, well, this fight's over right now. No, not necessarily, right? The grenade launchers are very good at getting rid of the chaff in the army for the Skaven, but they're terrible at getting rid of the meat of this army. They're really not great against large targets or single entity units. They can do some damage, but they're not great. You can see if the slingers could stay alive long enough, they can damage the grenade launchers, but staying alive long enough is the difficult key here. Now, of course, every time all the Skaven units get together to mosh pit on one of the Empire units that comes in, they blob themselves up and keep themselves open to all kinds of attack, like this Fireball coming in here. Just devastating damage all over the Skaven. So you can see that the Empire army has to be somewhat patient here, and it is going to have to sacrifice units at times, and the Skaven are just going to have to try and do their best to kill those units that come in such a way that the Empire may not have quite enough ammo, or if a key unit drops in at the wrong time, like Boris, that maybe they can use some of their Skaven abilities, like Brittle Bones and other stuff that the Eshin Sorcerer has, to see if they can trap one of those units and kill it at an inopportune moment. Hell Pit Abomination is going to be a key here. If it can stay alive, it's going to really be able to help manage Boris. But there's a lot of units, and there's a lot of ammunition that's going to be fired, and anytime these Skaven kind of venture out, they find themselves getting bogged down by flagellants and leaving themselves open for more of this, where the Empire Knights just kind of come in on a cleanup crew, and the regrouping Skaven units find themselves facing Boris. And so the terror pretty much keeps them off the battlefield. This is a very interesting Empire army. There are certainly builds that it would not do well against, but in this case, it's going to give this Skaven build everything it can handle and more. And the Skaven, though, it's, like I said, going to be curious to see how this one plays out in the late game, because the Skaven, their chaff was utterly decimated, but there's a lot of power here. Deathmaster Snitch is taking some fireballs, and he's hurting. I mean, he's a little toasty. He's been feeling it. But this is a lot of damage output right here in melee. And if Boris drops down into this before it's ready to be fought, he's going to get clobbered. Like, straight clobbered. So it's an interesting situation here, and Empire Knights not really going to be able to hack it against this stuff. Outriders, good, but probably not great against this type of build. You can see, though, that none of the units are going to be easily catchable by the Skaven, but right here, using the Deathmaster Seagull here, does trap the Bright Wizard, and does allow the Skaven a solid play here, and this is big. At least getting rid of the Bright Wizard. He did manage to get a Flamestorm off, though, apparently right before he was routed, so that was pretty fortunate play for Empire here. But yeah, that's going to be the end of the Bright Wizard. So great play by Skaven trying to make up for some of the challenges that they're facing here, but just kind of sucks for him that Flamestorm manages to park right on top of him too. Won't do horrendous damage, but you know, they can't really afford to give up any damage right now. So good play, Bright Wizard out. You can tell both these players have some skill. I would have been dead in the first 30 seconds fighting against this Empire army, no doubt about it. I want to let you all absorb the amount of firepower we're talking here from this army. Like I said, not great against these units, but it's doing the damage. The Rat Ogres ate it. The single entity units not quite as much here, but the multiple entity units getting just shreked by the grenade launchers. And you're going to get desperate at some point as the Skaven. You have to. You got to do something about these units. You can't just sit here and take it. It's causing damage. I mean, sitting still isn't a great option either. So he's going to have to do something. Empire Knights, though, coming in to try and pin things down and help Boris fight here. Let you all watch this one go down. Huge amount of grenades coming in. Boris gets hit immediately by Rival Hide and Assassin's Trophy and the Deathmaster Seagull. And I told you that this would be a risk. We saw what happened to the Bright Wizard. Boris is getting shellacked hard, but he does manage to get out of the Seagull and is able to get away. But he almost dies here, but whenever those units got locked into place and the grenade launchers got good shots, just look at the damage done to the Hell Pit Abomination. Just tremendous damage. Huge damage. Some stars there. Boris gets out, and as long as Boris is in the air, he can heal. And that little fight right there really hurt the Skaven pretty badly. The Skaven aren't out of this fight yet, but it hurt him in the sense that they didn't actually get the kill on Boris. And without getting the kill on Boris, you expend all that effort and all that magic, and he gets away just to start healing again. Fortunately for the Skaven, though, the Hell Pit Abomination can also start healing, but you can see any unit that was routed, the Empire can kind of chase it off the battlefield. And then over here, a Doomflayer got busy trying to hack through these Outriders, and understandable, but it got separated, and then Boris is able to land on it because the Skaven can't get around the map as quick as he can, and that terror is going to be too much for the Doomflayers. They're going to get knocked out of that fight really quick. I don't know if they're susceptible to terror. They may cause it themselves. No, they don't cause terror, so they are susceptible to it, but probably just a leadership play altogether. That Hell Pit Abomination is so big that I actually think the grenades are doing some pretty fair damage to it. Typically a single entity won't get wrecked by it, but the Hell Pit is definitely absorbing a lot of this. Yeah, it just died. Wow. And then the unit that spawned out of the Hell Pit Abomination is immediately nuked by the grenade launchers. The White Wolves are back, and the Skaven are now in some pretty deep trouble. Their shot at Boris was a good shot, and probably the best shot they've had here, but their chances of defeating Boris are getting less and less as it ticks on because Deathmaster isn't healing and Boris is, and the Skaven are just losing more and more units. You can see that the skirmishing from the grenade launchers is intense. Boris here going to take a charge where he thinks it suits him, get a good hit in on the Deathmaster. You can see he's going to get hit by Assassin's Trophy and pinned on the ground yet again. And he will take some damage here. He's going to get hit by an assassin. But look how much Boris had healed already. He's already back up to like 2,400 hit points. Healing very, very quickly. And despite the best effort by the Skaven units here, they're going to get charged by some units that are low on ammo or out of ammo in order to help fortify the numbers around Boris, who was taking tremendous damage at the hands of the Skaven. Deathmaster Snitch is quite good in those type of combat. And you see over here that Doomflayer is even working out a unit of Empire Knights. So it was a pretty close fight, actually, all things considered. If Boris hadn't been able to get away earlier, or taken just a couple more shots, it may have flipped this battle the other way, despite the fact that you had some insane grenade play in this game. I mean, this is some of the most nutty use of of grenade launchers I've ever seen. It was pretty awesome. So Shetland and Flying Taco, thanks for an amazing match here. This was really interesting to watch. This is tournament gameplay from two players who are very capable in tournaments. I think I've played against both these players at some point too. They're good, folks. I played a lot of people in this game, and I don't sit around claiming to be the best at it. I have a pretty good understanding of the game, but when it comes to like skill in it, that doesn't always translate. Like an understanding doesn't always translate to skill. These two guys are good, so it was fun seeing them play this way. And seeing these armies, like a build that very unconventional, one that you may not think of in terms of like your everyday use for the Empire, but I mean, this build is actually going to be pretty tough to defeat unless you have the right tools to do so. Even if you had tools fast enough to, let's say, track down the Outriders with grenade launchers, you would have to be careful that you didn't get lured into Boris along with some Empire Knights or, you know, the Bright Wizard, something like that, right? That's the danger of these types of builds. You can't just sit back and take it, per se, but if you get lured into a bad position, it gets really rough. Now, Taco did have some skirmishers. He had these 4 Skaven Slave Slingers, though, to be fair, protecting these guys from 2 Empire Knights, Boris, and 4 Outriders with grenade launchers, that's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. Because Boris can fly over the top of a protective unit, and then the grenade launchers can roll up and shoot. But your best bet, and I'm not saying I could have done any better than him, I certainly probably wouldn't have, but I think your best bet with this type of build is just hope you get lucky. Lucky and skill. You saw how Flying Taco got rid of the Bright Wizard, right? Similar type of play tried on Boris, it just didn't work. With your skirmishers early on, if you're a little bit luckier at being able to protect them against some of those attacks, then they can do damage to the grenade launchers over time. But remember, they're going to be under fire from the War Wagon as well. There's really no perfect answer here, right? They could also be under fire from the White Wolves. It's difficult, and it was meant to be difficult, so good pick by Shetland, a fun one. I do hope you all enjoyed seeing some of this competitive gameplay. Hey, if you enjoy what you see here on the channel, do me a favor. Over half the people watching my videos right now aren't subscribed, and that's fine. If you want to stay that way, you can, but if you're enjoying it, man, go hit the subscribe button. Help me out. Let's build this channel. Leave some comments. If you want to be a part of this channel and support, a great way to do it is leave some comments. Click the like button if you like it. Click the dislike button if you don't like it. Just interact. Help me out a little. It's a very easy thing you can do. Just takes a couple seconds, and if you do it on every video, it's a huge contribution to helping me grow the channel so that we can continue this stuff. I love making it for you. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I'll be back soon with some more content.